to another episode of Your Queer Story. We are your hosts. I am the incredible Evan Jones.
And I'm the even better Paul Hobbs.
You can't come up with a better comeback to my thing. I'm just saying, you always just try to one-up me, but you don't quite, like...
Yeah. Our listeners know that I'm the better.
No, because you don't even come back with something better. Think of your own shit. Beat me to the punch. Introduce yourself first.
Well, you always read first.
Well, because I know how to jump right in there and get things done. We have a guest with us today.
Hi, I'm here.
She's here.
I'm here.
Introduce yourself, because I'm going to say Vima, but I want you to tell our listeners your full name, which...
Right. I'm Vimalis Manfredo. Everybody calls me Vima, so don't even bother learning the full name. It's not worth it. Just call me Vima.
No, take the challenge. Learn her full name, even though I still haven't learned her full name. You guys take the challenge. So Vima is here, and what is your podcast? You do a podcast with your husband?
Right. So we do Down No Particular Road, and it's going to be a podcast about camping and RVs and campgrounds, reviews, and all that stuff. Right now, the podcast has a potpourri of topics while we got our shit together, pretty much. But now we're going to go down the path of camping. So if you like the outdoors and you're not scared about bears or serial killers, you can hear it to our podcast.
Yeah, so check it out. And what are you guys, what are your platforms?
So we're everywhere just like you guys. And we publish on Monday nights. We're doing it weekly. For the most part, there have been a lot of changes, but other than that, it should be weekly. Moving on, hopefully. If not, it's bi-weekly, and then you listen to it bi-weekly.
That's right. There you go. You're going to get what you get, and you're going to like it.
Exactly.
Pretty much. But go listen and join our Facebook group, because we also have a Facebook group that we put silly questions like, which way you do the YMCA-C? And
Oh, wait.
But which way do you do it?
Which way do you do it?
I do it to the opening is to the right. And then other people do it this way.
Which way do you do it?
I don't do it because that's the devil's dance. I really don't know. I've probably done the YMCA like once or twice in my life.
It's literally YMCA.
Okay, YMC. I guess I would go.
Oh, you go to the left.
Right. So you go to the left, I go to the right. We have a poll going on in our Facebook group.
I wonder what that
which way
relates
we
to.
do it, because
Why do some people do it one way and not the other?
I'm a lefty, so it could be that.
I'm a righty.
So you do it to the left.
No.
Oh yeah, you do it to the right too.
Yeah.
I don't know then. That was our theory. You just broke our theory.
I break a lot of theories.
Yeah.
it's kind of a hobby of mine.
Yeah.
So that's Down No Particular Road?
Yes, Down No Particular Road, and you can find it. Our website is on Buzzsprout. It's buzzsprout.com/Manfredo, and you can find all the episodes from when we started, that it was just my husband, Josh, and then I took over, and then we had a season 2 where we just talked about different kind of stuff. And now season 3 is going to start in a couple of weeks, in 2 weeks actually, when we start our camping season.
All right.
That's going to be fun.
Awesome. Good. Yeah. And this is the time to get out there, go camping. New England in the spring, the summer, the fall. It is beautiful. There's so many great places to go. You guys, where's your favorite place to go camping?
Well, my favorite place is in Sandusky, Ohio, but that's only because there's a amusement park there. But other than that, Maine has been like my favorite in terms of what's the most beautiful place we've ever been.
Aren't there like big animals out there?
I think there's big animals in the woods, in the forest in general.
Everywhere.
That's where they're
most campgrounds that accept RVs, because we're RV campers, so we're glampers. Most campgrounds are actually not that woodsy as you are imagining. Mm-hmm. They're very
maybe I could do
paved
that
and full amenities, and we have a full RV that has air conditioner and a TV.
See, in my mind, I'm thinking of like a tent in the middle of the woods with nothing around them for like 10 miles.
No. Let's not get crazy here.
That's my...
Sounds ridiculous.
No, we have
like
a queen-size bed, a full bathroom, AC, heat, and a full kitchen and an outdoor kitchen. So we're glamping.
Wow. There we go.
Yeah,
That's the way to do it.
I think I could do that.
Yeah. It's very enjoyable because you can pretend that you're in the woods by having a little fire, doing a fire pit, and then you're like, I'm going to sleep. I'm turning on the AC.
Nice.
Going to sleep.
That's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Screw all you people hiking through the mountains,
See,
plopping down wherever you find.
No.
We have evolved past that stage.
That's right.
Yeah.
Jesus invented RVs for a reason, folks.
Exactly. So.
All right, so check them out. Down no particular road.
Yep.
Check them out. And Vima's going to help us on a couple of our episodes. So this one, and we're covering some queer Latinx people. And so we brought a queer Latinx individual. Can you tell listeners how you identify?
So I am a bisexual female. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. And I am Latinx. I'm also Hispanic. And my pronouns are she and her. And that's about it. I can't think of anything else about myself.
Okay. All right. So she's here to help us because we know that you guys just love whenever we butcher names, and we are so good at it.
It's kind of a thing.
It's really a thing we're really good at, but we thought, what the hell? We'll try a little bit for you guys, just these couple episodes.
I think you just want me
Don't
to
get
roll
used
the
to
R's.
it. Huh?
I think you just
I
want me
do-
to roll the R's, and that's it.
That's the truth.
That's why I'm here.
And-
That's right.
And when I get to one of those names, I'm just going to stop and I'm going to look at you and I'm just going to need you to read it for me.
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
I can pick back up.
There you go.
Hope
Yeah.
I don't screw it up.
I hope not, because then we're all fucked. All right, so we're gonna get to that in a second, but make sure you guys check us out on social media at Your Queer Story on most platforms, especially Facebook, Twitter, and somewhat Instagram-ish.
Maybe.
I tag myself in Instagram stories, but I don't. We still the same old problem where I can't get onto the Instagram. So and Paul's not doing shit with it. So I don't know. But if you do at Your Queer Story, you can be part of that whole thing.
If you are on Twitter, you need to follow us because I post on there like 60 times a day.
And sometimes you drug post, like this week when you decided to say that basketball courts were phallic.
No, I said basketball courts were designed by gay men.
Insinuating that they were phallic.
Because it looks like a penis.
It doesn't look like a penis.
So they're phallic.
Yes.
But it doesn't look like a penis.
Yes.
I don't. It's a giant rectangle. I don't know.
No.
I don't think
Watch.
anyone sees it.
Watch.
But Paul,
I've never seen a
at
rectangle penis.
10:45 at night, while he was drunk off his ass, decides he's gonna tweet this.
I will show you. You're going to see
I've seen a basketball court,
Look.
bitch.
That is a penis right there.
Oh, it's
Talking
the,
about the
three point
the 3-point free throw.
And then there's the ball. It's like you're looking at it from below. See? Just imagine.
I haven't looked at enough dicks from below, so I guess maybe.
There's the ball. See?
I can see it. Okay, I
Alright.
give it to you. But I think it's just that court in particular, that design,
I
because
think
of the
it's
color
just-
contrast.
I think
Doesn't
it's just
help.
Paul and his perverted mind.
That's what they look
But
like.
yeah, so if you follow us on Twitter, you can have those gems.
And I live tweet Drag Race every week.
There you go. You can follow that. And if you want to and give us your support, we'd appreciate it if you go to Patreon at Your Queer Story. And if you can support us, we would appreciate it. Like I said, we do have our new studio coming soon. It's going to be right around the time of our 1-year anniversary, which is coming up. So, yeah, check that out.
We're going to be a year old.
1 year old. And then we're going to have a gender reveal party after the year. That's what I'm going to do with my kid. For a whole year, I'll be like, no one can know. I'm just going to keep the head shaved,
Yeah.
and then we'll see.
What's the name going to be?
I don't know. Something fluid.
Like Pat or something?
Yeah, Pat's good.
Pat can go either way.
Patrick, Patricia, nobody knows.
Mm-hmm.
Chris?
Yeah,
Chris
that's a
is
good one. That's a
There's
really
a
good
lot of them now that you can do.
Kendall, Skylar.
Yes.
Bring it back to normal.
No. Kendall, I literally just met a guy named Kendall.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, but that's not...
It is a very common guy name. I'm pretty sure the White Ranger was named Kendall. And he was a white guy.
All right.
And also, Skylar is, most people think of it as a boy name.
Do they?
Yep.
I guess I know Skylar Kurgel. He's a trans man. So, I guess. All right. But, no. You're not naming my kids.
I'm definitely naming your kids.
All right. All right. So, go ahead. Why don't you...
Alright, we are going to jump into this week's story about a truly fascinating figure, Jose Julio Sarria. How do you say it?
Sarria or Sarria?
And can you explain
Sarria.
what you were telling us?
Right, so I looked up Jose Julio, and the way that he talks about himself when he introduces himself, he uses the word Sarria. But looking up the etymology of his last name, is actually pronounced Sarria. But it's not spelled correctly to be Sarria because it's missing the tilde at the A, so it should be Sarria because that's how he said it. So whatever he shows is the correct way. That's how I see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, we literally had a conversation about how to say this name, and I made fun of like the typical American that would say Sarria, and then I literally just
Sarria.
Sarria.
That's
That's why she's here.
Anyway.
At the end of this episode, our listeners are going to think we're so stupid. And we're like, why? How have we been listening to you guys for 46 episodes?
So, yeah. Jose Julio Sarria, a.k.a. the Absolute Empress, the first, a.k.a. Empress Jose, a.k.a. the Grand Mayor,
the Grand Mayor.
Okay. A.k.a. the Widow Norton, a.k.a. the Nightingale of
Jose Julio had a lot of names for himself. Okay,
you know who this is like? This is like Daenerys from Game of Thrones.
Oh my God! Yes, the Queen of the Andals and the freer of slaves.
Yeah, that's. So yes, Jose did go by all of those titles in his lifetime, and we are all about it. I just don't know how he remembered all of his own names. Like, if somebody on this side of the street called him one, like, how would he?
Oh, I'm sure Jose Julio. I gotta get used to saying this because this is. I know you've explained this to us, but I want you to explain this to our listeners too, because we got a lot of white listeners, and if they're like Paul and I, we just don't know a lot about Latinx culture. So, or maybe is this specifically Puerto Rican culture? Or?
So I'm not sure if it's completely Puerto Rican culture, but that's. I feel like it's more Latinx culture. Or at least when you're actually in the Latin American countries, where you usually use both first names, so you call it a middle name here. But it depends on what your middle name is. Sometimes if it rhymes or if it goes together, you use both. So Jose Julio, and when I read his name, I think that he would have used both his first names as one, like Jose Julio. Another good example is Jose Maria. It's very common in the Mexican area, both in Mexico and southern Texas.
So, in all three Mexican states?
In all three Mexican states, yes. I read that and it hurt my brain so much. So Jose Maria is another one where there's a lot of people that are called Jose Maria and they use the whole thing. Or a lot of women that are called Maria Jose.
Oh wow, really mixing it up.
Right, exactly. And obviously,
real creative.
Yeah, exactly. And these names are all biblical. So Jose means Joseph, which is the stepdad of Jesus. Mm-hmm. And then Maria is Mary, who is the mama of Jesus. And then Jesus is Jesus. Because, you have to throw that one in there too. So a lot of Latin American countries use these names over and over again because of the history of Catholicism that Spain brought when Spain invaded Latin America. Yeah. So
the one. Sorry, this is going to be completely off topic.
Okay, good.
The one story that I never understood in the Bible. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't understand all of them, but the main one is
one of them
is okay. So this woman gets pregnant and has a husband, right? And she's like, I just don't know how this baby got here.
Are you talking about the story of Mary? You need to let it go, okay?
I don't know how this baby got here.
We've been through it.
I have a husband, but he didn't do anything. I don't know.
I don't think they were married at that point. I don't remember.
They weren't married. They were engaged.
And that's why she pretended that she got pregnant by God.
We all know. We know that's exactly what happened. Everybody knows that's what happened.
But the actual story is that the angel Gabriel came down and told Mary that she was very special and she was pure. So God was going to put a seed into her womb and to bring God into life. So God created himself inside Mary and then birthed into his son.
Then birthed himself.
Right, which is himself.
Because God is Jesus and Jesus is God.
Well, right. They say Jesus is God's son. That makes no sense.
Yeah. Don't get involved in Trinity shit because you'll really get lost. If you thought Sodom and Gomorrah was bad, we can't even talk about the Holy Trinity, okay?
Sorry, that's like really 8 years of Catholicism right there. There you go.
So, but the one thing we said was like Jose Julio, and I know I'm saying this very white, so please bear with me, listeners, but Jose Julio most likely dropped. Because a lot of times, in the things that I read, it all said Jose, but most likely he dropped that to be more American or
to make it easier. Yeah. So it's the same way how I go by Vima, even though my full name, my legal name is Vimalis. It's because honestly, American people can't pronounce names that are not in their culture. They can pronounce something super complicated, like Schwarzenegger, but they can't pronounce Jose Julio or Vimalis. So there you go. That's why.
Yeah. And I guarantee you, at that time, people were like, Jose Julio?
Yeah.
We got a Jose Julio?
I tell you what, if they called him Josie, he's probably like, that's me. Hello. Josie's fine. All right, so you never even finished your paragraph. His fearless.
So his fearless tenacity and unabashed pride would push him to be the first openly gay candidate to run for office in America. And he did it as a Latino man in the 1960s, facing a tsunami of hate and discrimination. Jose never had it easy, but he never let the obstacles stop him. And I actually almost just said Josie. Wow. So that's why I paused. I had to think about it.
It's going to be a rough one, guys. All right, so from the beginning, Jose Julio's parents seemed destined to fail in love. She was a princess turned pauper, once the daughter of a proud political family in Bogota,
Colombia.
Bogota, Colombia. I felt like I did good there. Maria. Oh, her name's Maria, just like you said.
I just told you.
Maria lost her loved ones in... Oh, I shouldn't laugh right before that. Maria lost her loved ones in the 1,000-Day War. Fleeing to America upon her mother's death, she was made a ward of the state and transferred to Panama. There she became a maid to the chairman of a large German beer company, cleaning his house and taking care of his children. In 1920, Maria was able to gain sponsorship to the United States and sailed for San Francisco. On the boat, she met Julio Sarria. Oh, the son of a very rich and very well-known Spanish family. We should have like a little buzzard that we can slap every time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, so we're missing. Yeah. So I read very briefly about the 1,000-Day War, but it was just basically a civil war, political civil war in Colombia that erupted and was very bloody, very brutal. And like we said, she lost her entire family, and she runs away, and then she's a ward of the state, and she has to work for this rich family, which I think plays in part later on in the script. I can't remember. I wrote the first half of the script a long time ago, and I was trying to brush up on it real quick. Anyways, you want to go ahead.
So it was very interesting to see that she was transferred to Panama, and I couldn't find why.
Yeah.
But I'm very curious about that because she was in Colombia, and then she went to the States, but then they transfer her to Panama, and it's like, but that's a completely different country.
Yeah, it's a ward of the state. That's very, yeah.
Yeah, she was like in foster care, pretty much. It's like the prelude to foster care in Panama. And it's like, oh, okay.
Well, maybe
that's
the United
a place
States
to send her.
was just getting rid of people.
Well, I feel like that's what they were trying to do.
Right, the United States at this time was building the Panama Canal in Panama. So it kind of makes sense, but it just took me up.
But what's she doing? Like digging the Panama Canal?
Who knows?
I guess. I don't know. It just baffled me when I read it, and I tried to find more information, but she's a ghost. So
imagine if we read that today, which I wouldn't be surprised if we did, and they're just like, they're sending foster kids to wherever.
Yeah, we're sending the Venezuelan foster kids to Brazil, and it's like, what? Why? Like, why are you doing this?
Don't worry about it. It'll make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I'll have you read this.
All right. The two courted for a few years, but when Julio learned that Maria was pregnant, he abandoned her. Kind of makes sense because he was higher class. She was not. So you think? Oh, okay. Yeah, because he was the son of a very rich and very well-known Spanish family, and she was an orphan.
Yeah.
That was a ward of the state. It's like, well, you got like a poor girl pregnant.
Actually, I do think I did read that he did have pressure from his family.
It kind of makes sense at this time that even if he loved her and he wanted to stay with her, it was probably not possible for him. Not that I'm forgiving him, because I don't know their story that much, but it's a possibility that that's why he abandoned her. Yeah. But not before lending his name to his baby, and that was like my clue. Jose Julio Sarria was born on December 12th, 1922. Maria struggled to support herself and her child while also providing adequate care for Jose Julio. However, the task was difficult, especially in a society that provided little to no aid for single mothers, and certainly not single mothers of mothers of color,
Yeah.
which makes sense. It's the very young Latin woman that got pregnant by a wealthy Spanish man that abandoned her. So now she's a single mother, where that's a stigma, and was a stigma for the longest time.
Yeah, for anyone at that time, but especially in Latinx cultures, would it be more? Is that because you said they're more conservative?
Right. So most there are pockets are being more liberal, thank goodness. But the culture in Latin America, and at least from what I experienced, I don't want to talk for all of 2 continents. I'm just one tiny Puerto Rican, but from what I experienced, a lot of Latin American cultures and Puerto Rican culture as well is very conservative, very macho man, which just means that the man is the man of the house and all that crap. So seeing a single mother, it meant that she was probably viewed as a slut, a whore, as someone of no value, because she didn't wait until marriage to give her flower to somebody else or something like that. I'm rolling my eyes so hard it hurts.
The guy's perfectly fine though. The guy.
Oh yeah, the guy is perfectly fine because he just slept with some poor woman.
Yeah,
and it's
this is the boys being boys, to tell you what.
Right, exactly.
She should have said no.
She should have said no, and she should have not been in that situation of being a vulnerable, orphaned young woman in a boat meeting a very wealthy man.
Yeah, absolutely. Should have known better. Should have left. Should have looked into the future. You brought this upon yourself, Maria.
Exactly.
Hey Queerstians, thanks for listening to today's episode of Your Queer Story. Audible is offering a free audiobook download with your free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service.
I love Audible. I have had my subscription for over 2 years, and it is worth every single penny. I listen to it all the time.
I hate to read, but I love listening to things while I work. Audible gives me the opportunity to listen to the best-selling books while I'm at my computer or driving, and makes the day fly by.
And the best part is that Audible offers a wide variety of queer-friendly books as well. So you can listen to anything from The Queer History of the United States by Michael Bronski to over 200 LGBTQ fantasy novels.
To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/queer. Again, that's audibletrial.com/queer for your free audiobook.
So eventually Maria partnered with another couple who took Jose Julio in as their own. Charles and Jeserina Millen. I hope that's how you pronounce that. That's where you get me.
It's better than I would have said.
Yeah, I don't know. She's the one named Jeserina, so...
Yeah, I don't know. So Charles and Jeserina Millen had recently lost their own child to diphtheria, and Jeserina had entered a deep depression. After meeting Maria, the couple began to help raise Jose Julio. There is some evidence that Maria actually bought the Millens' house and moved in with Jose Julio and with the couple. Though Jose Julio and Maria will always remain close, and Maria was always kept her role as his mother, the Millens became a second family to the young boy.
So I mean, like you said, she's a single mother in the 1920s, trying to raise her child, and and they were good friends, but she's forced to move in with this family, to help support her son. And but she paid for all the bills for everything. I don't know what's his name, Charles. I don't know what Mr. Millen was doing. I don't know if he could, or if he was older, if he couldn't work, or maybe he did. But it seemed like Maria was the breadwinner of the family. She went out and worked, and then Charles and Jeserina took care of Jose Julio, and then, like I said, they became like a second set of parents to him.
Yeah, and I've actually heard that type of story a lot.
Okay.
So my great aunt, so it will be my mother's aunt, she had a couple of children, and then she widowed. So she went on to live with this wealthy family, and she took care of the wealthy family. It was just a couple, and I think one child, but all her children lived in that house, and the wealthy couple actually paid for the college tuition of my great aunt's children. So want to think that this was kind of common, or it's just a coincidence. I don't know, but I've heard that story before.
Well, I'm sure. I mean,
It'd be common,
yeah. On top of the fact that you have the poverty, in the stigma of being a single mother, and then she's a woman of color, and it was probably very hard for her to get a house in her name. Then to get, just like we said, she didn't have any aid or resources. There was no aid for her. So for any person coming in this situation, that would be the one way that they could get aid, because the government sure as hell wasn't stepping in.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely not. Especially previous to the Great Depression, there was absolutely no help whatsoever.
You got to get up by your own boots.
Pull yourself up by your own bootstraps.
That's the problem. Why can't you do it? Jose began to dress in feminine clothing at a very young age, and his family never had an issue. He even went out in dresses in public, and he was allowed to indulge. He was allowed to indulge his passions.
You can't even say the white words right.
No, because you put
over here is reading
ED.
2 freaking languages, and you
put an ED.
And allowed to I did right.
To indulge his passions.
So I was like, wait, what?
Go ahead.
Anyways, because Jose could not yet speak English, he was initially enrolled in private school before learning enough English to go off to the public schools. Eventually, language would be one of his strong points, and by the time he was in high school, he could speak 4 languages fluently: French, German, English, and Spanish. That's really impressive, because I can't learn one.
Right? I took both German and Spanish in school and couldn't tell you one thing. I know 9.
Yeah, but French and Spanish, that's a tough combination to learn.
That's very opposite ends.
Yeah, well, same with German and English. It's like, once you know English, then German is either too easy or too difficult to learn. And the same with French. If you know Spanish, I can never learn French. My Spanish gets in the way. It's so weird, but that's how my
that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know what my excuse is, but
I just can't do it. My brain doesn't work in that way.
I had to work so hard to learn English, and I still struggle with it. So
during this time, his mother discovered her boss was embezzling from her and other employees, and had the man arrested and deported.
Maria was not fucking around.
No, she's like,
no, you can get the fuck out of here.
That's my money. Bye.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the financial blow was crippling for the family, and they lost their house.
Yeah, he actually asked her how much money they had in the bank, because he was young and he was curious, and she wasn't taking care of her money. Her boss was, and when she went to her boss to be like, "How much money do we have?" That's when she found out that her boss had been embezzling all their money, and
you have $5. Pretty sure I've been working here for 5 years by now.
Yeah, pretty sure I should have a little bit of money set aside. Yeah. So Maria, Jose Julio, and the Millens moved several miles away to a much smaller place. They struggled during the Great Depression, like all American families, though poor people of color saw the worst of the Depression. On weeknights, the family would attend bingo and play to win bags of food so they could eat for the rest of the week. According to the U.S. Census, there was approximately 1.5 million Latinos in the States during the Great Depression. Encyclopedia.com writes of the struggles the Latin population specifically faced during this time.
Latinos were among the hardest hit by the economic downturn of the Great Depression. Although more established Latino communities had some upper and middle class families, most Latinos in the 1910s and 1920s were working class. Once they arrived to the United States, they participated in and oftentimes formed the backbone of a large range of industries, including mining, agriculture, and textile manufacturing. Despite their vital contributions to the U.S. economy, Latinos were restricted to the lowest paying jobs, received less pay than their Anglo counterparts, and had highly limited occupational mobility. Their position on the bottom rungs of the economic ladder, combined with the ugly specter of racism, put Latinos at a great disadvantage during the 1930s.
I'll continue.
What? I don't know if we were going to have any discussion or not.
No, yeah. I mean, because there's more, but yeah. It's just... Can you...
Just technical problems with the computer.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, we right there in that one paragraph, we see, obviously they're paid lower than white Americans for the same exact fucking job. And then the jobs that are afforded to them are the worst and at the bottom of the ladder, in general. So you imagine in the Great Depression where you're already struggling to get a job, and then as a person of color, you have to wait at the back of the line to even get one of the few jobs that is available.
Right, and I think you mentioned it on the next paragraph, but those were the first jobs that were cut. Like the people of color, the Latino population.
Well,
is like, you
got to keep the good American boys, and they're
pretty much
got to keep the good American boys.
Let's keep them employed because they can go back to whatever country they came from, even though their country is up in civil war or something like that.
It doesn't matter. That's not our problem.
We're all hurting in the Depression, but we're going to cut your jobs, and if you just pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Your people are resourceful. They literally that's what
that's exactly how it went.
And one of the things that kind of shocked me a little bit was the playing bingo to have food to eat.
Right?
Yeah.
First of all, I mean, I don't know. I just read that, so I don't know if it was just they were just bingo nights in general, and they were just showing up, or if there was some asshole church that was like, "You guys can play for food." I don't know what it was.
It's like the Hunger Games, but with bingo. I can just imagine the bingo cards.
Christ. I don't know what it was. I just that's just what it is. They played bingo to try to win bags of food. So, yeah. Jesus.
That's
fun times.
Shitty things were.
So, keep going. Continuing from encyclopedia.com.
As the American economy soured and jobs became scarce, Latinos, who were perceived by many Anglo. Yeah. I thought so. I just wanted to make sure. Anglo-American.
Anglo-Saxon?
What our heritage is.
Anglo-American.
I'm actually a white American.
I'm just white and I only recognize white. By many Anglo...
The Latinos who were perceived by many Anglo-Americans as foreigners, regardless of their actual
Pause right here. Sorry, I know you're wrong. Because what they're doing here is they're saying, because you have African Americans and you have Latin Americans, and they're saying Anglo-Americans as not to say that white people are just Americans. Oh, we're white, so we're Americans, and you're African American and you're Latin American. We're all Americans, and we should identify ourselves the same way that, none of us, this wasn't our place. This wasn't our country. We came like everybody else, Anyways, go ahead. That's my little soapbox.
Makes easy. This perceived as a foreigner.
So
made them perceive
the
whatever.
The white
they were
people
scapegoats.
perceived the Latinos as foreigners.
Yes,
which provided them. Yeah.
Okay. In many states, Latinos were the first to be fired, as employers felt obligated to give preferences to the good white American boy. In Puerto Rico, where the economy depended heavily on a small number of industries, unemployment rates skyrocketed even faster than in the mainland United States, reaching 36% in 1929.
Once again, Puerto Rico being forgotten.
Insane.
Shocking.
Not only were Latinos...
Good thing we got past that, though.
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
Good thing
made
it's
a lot
not
of
an issue
progress.
anymore.
Yeah,
we've
we've
made
so much progress. We now get paper towels.
Yes. Trump said,
I knew we were white for this one.
It's thrown to you by the president. I don't know what else you want.
Yeah, that's all we need.
I landed down there once. Not only were Latinos unable to find work, but they also found the doors of welfare offices and work relief programs closed to them, as increasing numbers of government and charitable organizations adopted a citizens-only policy. In practice, this policy often meant good white boys only.
It meant whites only.
Right, so... To remember, Puerto Ricans are U.S. citizens. You do not need a passport to go visit Puerto Rico. Go visit Puerto Rico. We need the tourist money. But that was part of the thing. It's like when you say citizens only and you also exclude Puerto Ricans, it's like, but we're part of the United States because you guys want us in a war. Because that's pretty much what happened.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, so the effect of the Great Depression in Puerto Rico was... you could almost say that it was harder than the United States because it was an isolated island. There's a lot of laws, like not the Jim Crow laws, that's a different one. There's the Jones Act that was already in place, where the goods that come into Puerto Rico are taxed double because you need to stop in this continental U.S. first before you go to Puerto Rico, even though you pass it on the way, which is stupid. But the effects were so much harsher because there was no money to transport the only goods that were manufactured in the island. So you didn't have that economy of exports, and then you start firing all your workers in such a small island, especially at the time. the economy collapsed so much quicker than the rest of the United States.
That makes sense.
You're being oppressed by being a colony, and then on top of that, your economy is collapsing because you depend on the dollar, and it was just a
and your government's doing nothing to step in.
Right, at that time, it was the 1920s, which means the government was appointed, if I remember correctly. Forgive me, all Puerto Ricans, if I have my story wrong. But I'm pretty sure that at that point, the government was still mostly appointed by the United States and not freely elected by the Puerto Rican people. So there was still a lot of like, well, you're a colony and you don't matter because you're third-class citizens.
We'll take care of you when we decide to take care of you.
Right, exactly.
And you can figure it out up until that point.
Exactly. And so the Puerto Rican people were treated as second-class citizens or third-class citizens for a pretty good chunk of history that probably includes all the way to 2019.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
If I was gonna say
basically still, but
it's still the same. But yes, it was really bad. And the stigma behind being Latino and how Latinos and people of color were viewed in the States didn't help either, because you're like barely being able to eat, and you're like, okay, so I'm gonna go to the United States, see if I can make my life better over there, and you ship all the way over there, and then it's like, no, F you, because you're
citizens only.
Yeah, citizens only, and you're like from over there, and that's gross.
And they might have even been worse off after that, because at least there,
in Puerto Rico, you had your family, you had some kind of a support system.
Yeah, right. And to top it all off, during the Great Depression, and we're going on a huge tangent here, but during the Great Depression, there were two major hurricanes that hit the island.
I didn't know that.
San Felipe in 1929, or I may have my years wrong, but San Felipe was the first one, right in the middle of the Great Depression, and then San Ciriaco was the second one, and the second one was really a very high category. At the time they didn't have categories, but they estimate probably a category 3 or 4 hurricane, which if you're like in the middle of the Great Depression, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had it bad at that time.
Wow.
So yeah, depression, yes.
All right. Well, it's important because, you know, we talk about the Great Depression, we just focus so much on white issues and how bad we had it, and you know, we're not thinking about how
that was never taught to me. And like you said, Puerto Rico is part of the United States. Yeah, that was never brought up in history class. Never, ever. I had no idea.
It's actually not even brought in my history class. I didn't learn that until much later, because my grandmother was burned just before San Ciriaco, and she first mentioned it, and then back when I was in college, I did my own research about the history of the hurricanes in Puerto Rico, and that's when I kept digging a little bit more. But a lot of these things about how Puerto Rico was not treated nice by the United States, it's not taught.
Of course not.
Wow,
no.
Shocker.
Shocking.
We're just really good at talking about how we treated other people.
It's just like those people we brought over from Africa for a better life. I don't know what the problem is.
It was really nice of us.
Right. It's the same way. We don't talk about it.
And we built all those reservations for the Native Americans. And do we even get a thank you?
We allowed them to build casinos. Like, I don't know what the problem is.
We're the best. Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead, Paul.
Despite their many obstacles, Jose Julio's mother worked tirelessly to provide for the family. As Jose Julio grew older, he began to seek love like any other teenager. It was around this time that he had his first relationship with another man. Because of his strong understanding of language, Jose Julio began to tutor immigrants while he was in high school and college. Through this work, he met Baron Paul Kolisch.
It's white. We can say it how we want.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. An Austrian native who fled the country when it was invaded by the Nazis. The two men fell in love during their tutoring sessions. As their relationship blossomed, Jose Julio enrolled in college to study home economics.
It seemed like, Paul was older, so Paul was older, but it did seem like it was a cute story, but it was... You know, but still, I can't remember, he fled Austria, and it was because he fell in love with another man in Austria, and so he had to flee Austria, come here. Plus, we were, like, on the brink of another war, so he was trying to get the hell out of there. Yeah. But that romance was all ended on December 7th, 1941, when Japan bombed Pearl Harbor and America entered World War II. Jose Julio was determined to enlist and serve his country, but he had a problem. Army requirements insisted an individual be at least 5 feet tall, do not say anything, Paul, in order to serve, and Jose Julio was just under 5 foot.
Evan will never make it.
But Sarria.
Sarria.
Sarria. What? Sarria. What? Sarria.
It's so cute.
Jose Julio was never a man to let any of his perceived handicaps dissuade him. According to legend, he seduced a recruiting agent and was able to enlist in the military despite his height. I don't know.
wanted this to be the Navy.
Yeah.
Just to be honest.
Right?
Because there was a study done not that long ago, like probably 10 years ago. The Navy came out as the gayest of the
yeah.
three.
Yeah, and it's not that surprising.
I was hoping that it was the Navy.
You don't want to... What straight man would want to go on a boat? Because are the boats segregated by like men-only boats, women-only boats?
Yeah,
No.
right. Is it not anymore?
At the time where he enlisted, there will be no women on boats whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah, okay, so
Now,
there you go.
now quarters are
What
separated.
straight man would be like, let me go on a boat with only men for months at a time?
Let's go over there with his bros, okay? They're just gonna go, and they're gonna go all the ports.
Yeah, with his bros.
I'm more
Bunch of seamen.
disappointed in how
Exactly.
much...
All the semen you could ever want.
Yes, all the seamen are there.
That's why the ocean's salty. Let's be honest.
So nasty.
What do you think they're doing out there?
I think they're singing on the ships, and they're, when they get into the port, they just fuck so many women.
Yeah.
At this port I fuck
The
5
women
girls.
at the ports are excited when the
They're like,
Navy's
hey
coming.
boys, and like,
No, they're excited because they know they're not gonna like try to steal them or whatever.
Oh,
So-
they're like, oh god, it's the American boys. They're just gonna be too busy fucking each other.
Just eye candy.
I just can't believe that someone would want to be in the military that bad.
No.
But it shows his character.
Also, the
versus
difference
us.
here, you don't really know what's going on in the military. Now you have the internet to research.
That's
you can see
true.
videos. You can see literally people dying and getting bombed. Back then, you're gonna go be an American soldier and you're gonna go fight this war and you're gonna defend the country and
But also the bombing of Pearl Harbor really united the United States.
I would have ran the other way.
I totally
I would
would
have been
too.
like, no, I don't want to go closer to those
I'll
things.
buy the war bonds, but I will not fight the war. How about that?
Yeah.
But
no, I also think, but it shows too. I don't get in general how any person of color wanted to serve in World War II, because at that time you're just being shit all over by the American government, and the American government is now like, if you guys could just go die for us so that you can come back here and we can make you drink at separate water fountains.
They were usually put in the front of everybody else, so they were the ones sent in.
right,
to
they
die
were on the
first.
front lines, or if they were in ships, they had the shittiest jobs.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah, they did. They had the shittiest jobs. And then, as we talked about in our military episode, a lot of the times, just before they were done, they were dishonorably discharged so that they could not receive any of the war benefits. So, but you know what? Jose Julio was like, no, he was going to serve his country, even though he was short. But again, his so-called handicaps hindered him. Because of his fluency in languages, Jose Julio was assigned to the intelligence school. However, he failed the background check, and while they never stated why, he was always under the impression that it was because he was gay.
Oh, yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it does make sense.
Instead, he was sent overseas and became a cook for Major Matatzes. Eventually,
Major Maddie.
Just Maddie. Yes.
Yeah.
Eventually running an officer's mess hall in Germany. He would earn the rank of staff sergeant and was honorably discharged in 1947 after the end of the war. Jose Julio returned home to his lover, mother, and family and began to settle down. Paul desperately wanted to provide for Jose Julio, but because their relationship could not be legally recognized, it was difficult. He was afraid something would happen and his money would go to the state or some distant relative. In one scheme, he proposed marrying Jose Julio's mother, Maria, so at least their money could be tied together. Maria was willing, but Jose Julio refused. the two continue to argue about the best way to circumvent the system.
Yeah, and it goes,
I don't know why these gays want to be married. I don't get that. Why? There's no benefits. They just want to fight like everybody else. That's true, yeah.
Oh, yeah, right?
They just are trying to force the good old Christians to marry
You want to be
them.
as miserable as everybody else? No, but it shows, it's like, sadly, it's like that desperation where you're even willing to have your mother marry your lover. Which is just on paper, of course.
Yeah.
But,
this is not
a sexual thing.
Yeah.
But, to do that just so that you can take care of the person that you love. The extent that queer people have to go to at this time, just to make sure that their loved ones are taken care of.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So,
I'm surprised they didn't go through the adoption instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was a very common form. I don't know. I don't think that was in there. But yeah. Yeah, adoption was a really popular way. But this was a little before that.
Yeah, who knows?
Right.
And it also depends on the state to state. Like, everything was so crazy.
There was a lot of reasons why they couldn't. And I think also Jose Julio was offended, just knowing his nature, that he couldn't just marry the man that he wanted to. And he didn't want to do anything else. He was like, no, this is what I want to do. I want to be able to marry you. And Paul was very practical. Was like, but we can't get married. And Jose Julio was very
well, then we're going to get nothing.
He was a very dramatic person. It was just like, well, then forget it.
Forget it all.
And that's why he has the title of Queen.
That's exactly. And along with 1,000 other titles.
Yeah.
But sadly, they wouldn't have time to work out the details. On Christmas Eve, 1947, just a few months after Jose Julio returned home, Paul and his son Jonathan, from a previous marriage, were killed by a drunk driver. To add insult to injury, it was discovered that Paul had instructed his brother to care for Jose Julio and Maria. However, upon Paul's death, the brother ignored all wishes and took Paul's enormous fortune for himself, leaving only a ring and a little cash for Jose Julio, telling him, "If you expect anything else, you're not going to get it."
Oh, so fucked
dun,
up.
Dun, dun. And that is where we are going to end this week. So make sure you tune in next week for the conclusion of Jose Julio
Sarria.
Sarria.
If you can say it, send us voice clips of you saying it, and we will send you
our love
bag of bread. You've won the bingo game.
From Wonder Bread.
Ooh, the best kind.
Nice.
And don't forget to check out Vima's podcast.
Down no particular road at buzzsprout.com/Manfredo.
That's right. And
one of the two, you'll find us.
There you go. She's going to be on with us for a couple more episodes. And as always, you can check us out on any social media at Your Queer Story.
Live tweeting Drag Race every single week on Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern.
And we could use your support on Patreon if you go to patreon.com/yourqueerstory. And also, don't get a lobotomy.
You succulent sapphist.
We love you, our little allied hookers.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.